What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about the 2025 NBA Draft expectations. But before we do that, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment, and tell anyone about the show. Trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. But like I said, we're going to talk about the NBA drafts, expectations for the 2025 season. Top 10 specific, if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be a good one, should be an entertaining one. I will say this, we do know, I'm going to say this before we do that. Expectation-wise, right, we understand before the season started, this might have been what it looked like. Coop was the projected number one, right? Ace Bailey was probably the favorite for number two. Kamin Malawach was getting some love. Dylan Harper, I thought, was a little higher than this, but it is what it is. This might have been how it shook out. This should be how the draft should have gone. Peep how the Wizards were number one and the Jazz were number two. Or you could have flip-flopped them. I would have been okay with that either. But again, this is what it should have been. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to get that out there. Some teams were robbed. It's okay. We understand that. But now that we got that situated, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about my top 10 expectations, because it should be a decent one. Now, we do have the Mavs with the number one pick. Obviously, that's going with Cooper Flagg. I think the Mavericks are actually going to keep the number one pick, in fact, too. So we're going to see Cooper on the Mavs with Kyrie and AD. Ooh, that should be a good one. Number two, though, right? Number two. Spurs. Here's the interesting piece. And I'm going to link the Spurs and the 76ers because they're 2 and 3 combined, right? Because I expect the Spurs to get Dylan Harper and the 76ers to get Ace Bailey. You might flip-flop Ace for the Spurs. You could, because they do have De'Aaron Fox over there already. So maybe you want to gamble with Ace Bailey if you're the Spurs. But I personally like Dylan Harper. But again, one of those two players, actually both of those players should go second and third. And ironically, one of those two players could get traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo, which we both, if you don't remember, they were training together. And Giannis did say he was going to beat their ass when he sees them in the NBA. So it would be kind of a coincidence that he gets traded for them as well. Because remember, Giannis could get paired on the Spurs or the 76ers. That would be a nice little pairing to have. Giannis with Embiid or Giannis with Wemby. Either way, should be a good pairing. But that could happen. But y'all know my expectations if that Giannis trade doesn't occur. Fourth, though, the Hornets. Now, here's my thing, ladies and gentlemen, because like I said, 1 through 3 seem pretty cut and dry. There could be some hiccups in really number 3, right? Really number 3 specifically, because I do think the 76ers could have gotten VJ Edgecombe, okay? But if not, the Hornets could get VJ Edgecombe. Or they could go Kamin Malawach. It depends on what avenue they want to go. I do think they have Brandon Miller, who's currently 6'9". You got LaMelo Ball, who's 6'7". VJ Edgecombe, who is an extreme elite athlete at like 6'4" to 6'6". That's something to add to your team, especially when you have LaMelo Ball, the playmaker that he is. Or if you want to go big, right, you can go Kamin Malawach and pair him with Mark Williams. Twin Towers, I think that's something doable. Now you can have LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, who are trigger happy, taking a bunch of threes. So guess what? You got offensive rebounds out the yin yang, just saying. So that could be something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. But the Hornets do have some interesting pieces, I will say that. And keep in mind, too, what if they can make a push for Giannis? I doubt it, but there's a package there that the Bucks could take from the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But again, y'all heard where I expect them to do, not Giannis per se. Let's move on down to number 5, which would be the Utah Jazz. Hear me out. I ain't got nobody right now. The reason why I say that, ladies and gentlemen, Lauri Markkanen is probably going to be traded not too long, and that's going to shake up the dynamic of the team. Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Walker Kessler, those are some players that are currently on the team. Walker could get traded, though. So, again, I don't know which direction Utah wants to go. I got a couple people that I would like to see here, but, again, the Jazz could go a couple directions. So, really, if they picked anybody, I would expect it, because they have really no direction right now, no real direction. They're trying to build. So with that, let's move on down to save some time and go to the Wizards, who were robbed. Both them and the Jazz were robbed, to be honest with y'all. The Wizards, if VJ Edgecombe is still on the board, I could see VJ Edgecombe going here. Again, pairing him with Bilal Coulibaly. You got Jordan Poole. You might question the shooting. I hear that. VJ and Bilal could be a little interesting. But I think those two athletes paired together, you could have something special. You could. But again, on this draft, because they were robbed, it's just unfortunate. That's what you got to settle for. No disrespect, because he's a good player. Like, these are good players. But when you're talking about Cooper Flagg, it is a little bit of difference. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not biased, just being real. Anyways, so the Wizards, possibly VJ Edgecombe. The Pelicans, if still on the board, I ain't say his name yet because he could definitely be taken. Hell, the Jazz could have actually snuck him off this list. But Trey Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all know Trey Murphy III, very similar play. I think Trey Murphy might be better defender, but Trey Johnson gives similar scoring for me. 6'6", shooting. I talked about him before the season even started, and I said he could be a lottery type player. Boom, here we are. Again, Trey Johnson, similar player to Trey Murphy. You got to love a player named Trey. Just saying. But again, though, I do think the Pelicans should try to go for Trey Murphy. Well, they got him already, so why not add another Trey? And if y'all want to sign me to a 10-day contract, hey, have 3 Treys on the squad. You know what I mean? Trey balls all day. Anyways, let's go on down to number 18, which is the Nets. Y'all remember when I talked about the Jazz and saying they ain't got no real direction and they can draft anybody? Let's go ahead and rinse, wash, and repeat, shall we? Because again, the Nets could draft anybody. Now I don't even know what they're trying to do. Honestly, I need to see more about what their management is trying to do before I can even give my expectations. Because right now they just drafting just to draft, and it's a daggone shame. It really truly is. But y'all heard my expectations. Not a lot for the Nets. So let's move on down to the number 9 team, which I think would be a good place for this man here, Jace Richardson. I do think he could be a little interesting. Now, hear me out, though, because the height thing did kind of shake me a little bit. But I think a combo guard coming off the bench for this squad, you're pairing him with Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett. They need a little slasher. They need somebody who can kill in the mid-range. Even though they can shoot 3 and hit the mid-range themselves and be stars, he can complement that team. So I would like to see Jace Richardson on this Raptors team getting drafted. It'd be a nice little wonderful scenario. And you're paired with Emmanuel quickly too off the bench. Think that could be an interesting dynamic guard combo off the bench. Everybody needs depth. So I would love to see this pairing for the Toronto Raptors if they can get Jace Richardson. Be a good addition to the team. Now, the 10th team, the Houston Rockets. I think, and this person could get drafted as well too. I just wanted to save him for this squad. Asa Newell. Ladies and gentlemen, Asa Newell to me, paired with Amin Thompson, a Sengun, a Jalen Green, a Jabari Smith, he would be a wonderful either starter or backup. And I think he actually pairs with this squad, whether you're talking about keeping Jabari Smith or trading Jabari Smith, because you are starting to hit that point where you're starting to wonder, are they going to keep him or trade him? And when you're talking about Asa Newell, he doesn't give you the offensive potency and the stretch for capability that Jabari does, at least from my opinion. But you can teach you can teach someone how to shoot the ball. Like that's about work ethic too now. So for what he brings defensively and rebounding wise, it can substitute for what Jabari does. So again, for me, I think the Rockets should look at Asa Newell if we're talking about drafting a player, whether you're talking about fitting now or the future. And you get him on a friendly contract. But again, ladies and gentlemen, that is my top 10 listing. A couple of these players are on this list. Should be some good ones. I will say I have talked about a couple players, right? I could see someone like a Derek Queen going to the Jazz. I can. Thing is, I would want some of these players to be in good scenarios to actually showcase their ability. So again, if they get drafted, and I didn't mention their name, it's because I was wanting to try to help them out a little bit. So, fingers crossed they can be in a good situation, because the Jazz is not the best situation. The Nets not the best situation. You know what I mean? I'm trying to help these boys out. But again, though, those are my expectations point in time. But I am curious, though, ladies and gentlemen, where do you think everybody gonna go? Where do you think everybody gonna be? Who would you draft? Is Cooper not number one to you? Like, maybe we should have started there. Like, was my expectations off? Do y'all expect anybody else? Please leave your thoughts and comments below. But that is all the time we have, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude the episode. So thank you all for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone about the show. Huh? Oh, you like the jacket? I appreciate y'all. I just try to get on par with the boys. You know what I'm saying? I knew they was gonna try to do something nice for the draft. So I tried to do something, right? Like, they got more money than me. So I tried to be low key with it. You know what I mean? Shout out to my fraternity, KSI, Phi Nu Pi, all that stuff. Yo to the noobs. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the episode. So hope you all enjoyed it. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. Hope you all are having a good one. Take care.